we're going to be looking at just reality-based self-defense. And I know, like, sometimes when people say reality-based self-defense, there's a quick description here, right? Sometimes that automatically gets thrown out and people think that's kind of a hokey thing to say. And in all reality, you really shouldn't say reality-based self-defense. We should just say self-defense, right? Because self-defense is what it is. You're defending yourself against something. But the reality is we have martial arts out there that claim to teach self-defense, and it absolutely does not fit in reality. They do. I've seen quote-unquote people who claim to be martial art masters kick knives out of hands, or they slap guns out of people's hands, or, I've seen some really ridiculous shit, and they call that self-defense. So the only way that I feel that we can separate the Goshinjutsu that we do here within the Budo away from all that kind of hoopla is we say reality-based self-defense. And what reality-based means is it's something that's going to be very probable, okay? Very probable. Not possible, right? Anything's possible. It's possible that you could jump up, do a spinning back kick into someone's head, do the crane technique as you're jumping in your car and driving. It's possible, right? The possibility is there, but we don't want to really deal with possibility. We want to deal with highly probable. So when you deal with techniques that are highly probable, not just possible, highly probable, now you're in the realm of what we would call like reality. Because a technique that's highly probable is something that you should be able to do, not just possible. It's possible I will win the lottery if I go buy a lottery ticket. It's possible. It's not very probable that I'm going to win the lottery by buying a lottery ticket. Do you understand that distinction? Right. So when we do self-defense, when we do what we call Goshinjutsu, reality-based self-defense in the Budo, we don't want to stick to things that are possible. We want to deal with things that are highly probable. Now sometimes, however, you get martial art people, they're either these big, overweight, out of shape people, they couldn't even run out of the damn house without having a goddamn heart attack because they got too much on them, right? Or they're extremely underweight. They can't do 10 push-ups, sit-ups, and squats. They don't work out. And you guys all know that in the Budo working out is a mandatory thing. Yeah, absolute. And I know most martial arts don't have a fitness curriculum or a workout curriculum, and most people want to just go do martial arts. They don't want to do martial arts and work out, right? But that's just not the way it's going to work here. When I say underweight, that does not have anything to do with a number. It's not like going to the doctor and you guys have a BMI chart, like it says, well, if you're 5'10", you should be, 185 pounds, or if you're 6 foot, you should be 200 pounds, or whatever the BMI is, okay? That's absolutely not what I'm talking about when I say overweight, underweight. Absolutely not, because you can have a bodybuilder that's 6 foot tall, be 300 pounds, but he's ripped to shit. You know what I mean? So the weight factor, whatever it says on the scale, that is not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about when I say overweight, that means you have so much weight on you, it keeps you from doing what you need to do. That is overweight. That's what I mean by they're overweight, they're soft, they got the gut, they clearly have more on them than what they need, and it's keeping them from doing what they need to do. Right? Just the same, you guys are going to wonder why the hell are we talking about weight when we're doing about self-defense? Well, it matters. I'm going to tell you why it matters. Let's get back to the point. Bring it in, right? Underweight means you don't have enough on you to do what you need to do. So when you're training in a martial art and you're learning all these different techniques and all this kind of stuff, you're doing all these kama and all this shit. You're learning all the kata and the waza and the training drills, and you're punching the bags and sparring. And I've already said 50% of the shit that most ninjutsu schools don't do already, because all they do is do kata and taijutsu, and then they think that's a secret. But if that's the only realm you're in, and then you don't have enough muscle to do what you need to do, you're underweight. If you have too much weight on you, and because of your weight, you can't do what you need to do, whether it's a cardiovascular, flexibility, whatever, then you're overweight. That's the judgment, is can you do what you're training to do? And if you can't do what you're training to do, then you need to either gain weight, put on some muscle, or lose weight, lose some fat. You guys follow me on that? So don't think there's ever going to be you go to the Budo handbook or something, it's going to be, shit, Sensei says I'm 5'10", I got to be 173. Absolutely not. That's not, there is no number to it. It's can you do what we're asking you to do? If you can do it, your weight's fine. Now, why does that matter? It matters because if you can't do the simple shit in the dojo, because of your weight, whether it's muscle mass or body fat. There's no way you're going to do it when your life depends on it. Think about that. You're not going to get stronger just because someone has a gun or a knife and they're presenting a lethal threat. Just the same, you're not going to get thinner and all of a sudden your cardiovascular ability is so much higher just because now you're in a lethal situation. It's just not going to happen. If you can't do it in an environment that's not as intense, there's no way in hell you're going to do it in an environment that is more intense. So that's why training the body physically is an important and crucial aspect to self-defense. When you have a good if you're working out, you do cardio, you got your cardio, strength training, all this, your blood pressure's better, your heart rate's better. Well, if you already got a high heart rate, your resting heart rate's shit, your blood pressure, you're on blood pressure medicine, you're overweight, and then all of a sudden gunshots are firing, everyone's losing their shit, what's going to happen? Your heart rate and blood pressure is going to go higher. Everyone's goes higher under stress. But if you're already exceeding the normal goddamn heart rate, blood pressure, and you go higher from that, your body is going to fatigue quicker and you're not going to respond. You're not going to be able to do what you need to do. But if your heart rate is where it needs to be, your blood pressure is where it needs to be, and you've trained your body to be able to not only be healthy, but understand how to move when you are under stress, understand how to move correctly when you are fatigued, your heart rate and blood pressure do not go up as much. You guys catch me on that? Right. So there's no way you guys, anybody can sit there and say working out, physical fitness is not a crucial element to self-defense. Is it self-defense? No. Working out is not self-defense. But working out and being in shape is a crucial aspect to making sure you have the ability to do the techniques that you're training to do. And we can't separate that. So now we've talked about what's the difference between possible and probable. We've talked about the difference between what we need to do physically, just body, not mind yet, not mind, just body, being able to not be from, overweight or underweight. Now we got to talk about the mind, right? We got to talk about the mind, the mentality of reality-based self-defense. Your mind, the mental aspect is you have to always be aware of what you are doing, when you're doing it, and how you're doing it. Always. There should always be an exit strategy regardless of where you go. Even if you're going to go to the grocery store, even if you're going to go to whatever restaurant you're going to be, situational awareness is the number one key to making sure you don't get yourself in a stupid situation. I've said it many times, the rabbit does not defeat the lion, right? Can't. But the rabbit don't go around the fucking lion either. You know what I mean? It's smart enough to not go running around. So you guys don't put yourself in stupid situations. Now, so when you think about situational awareness, there's the 3 P's, right? Perception, process, plan. And that's going to constantly change. So, perception. What do you see? Now, what you see is your perception. Perception is based on perspective. Nobody sees everything in its entirety. What do you see? Who is it that has the knife or the gun, or where is going to be the knife? Where's the gun? Does something look a little shady? Where do you feel like that's where the attack could be, or someone could do something here? The perception. You should look at the damn area. If you're going to go somewhere, you should understand this. Don't just walk into some place and be, oh look, I can't wait to have a good time. Well, then you're just going to be pissed at yourself when something hits the fan, right? So the first thing is get a perception every time you walk into someone. Know where the exit strategy is. Know where the doors are. Generally speaking, the door you walk in is the one you're going to walk out. Generally. Where's the other door? Generally, there is another door that you could use if you can't get through that door. Always make sure you have the perception of everything. The next one is called process. The processing that information. How would you protect yourself? What would you do in case of fire? Someone comes in with a gun, whatever, You hear gunshots and you want to get out really fast, or whatever the whole situation. It's a numerous amount of situations, right? You now want to process and just say, okay, I've got the perception, I need to process that information, and I need to come up with, number 3, plan. Have a plan of attack. All of that should happen within seconds. You walk into a restaurant, you're like, okay, that's the front door. All right, so we're about 10 feet away. Okay, we're walking in here. And as you're doing that, you're scanning the area. And as you're scanning the area, you're getting the perception, you're like, okay, there's another door there, there's another door there. Now you're already processing. And then by the time you sit your ass down to get your food, you should already have a plan of attack. You should already have a plan of what happens if shit hits the fan. And already having that plan gives you a little sense of security, because then you just carry out the plan. You don't change the fucking plan unless something changes that alters that plan. But you should already come up with a plan that's going to be effective. That way, when something does happen, boom. And all that, and there's all these different variables that comes into play. Maybe the door that you walked in, your plan was, I'm going to walk out that one. But then the one that you figured you walked in, that's where the, quote unquote, bad guy walked in. So you could go through. That's fine. That's another perception. Perception of the area changed because of where someone else walked in. You reprocess that information, you come up with a new plan. But the more things you got to think about in a highly stressed situation, the more chances of error you're going to make. Right? So we don't ever want to do anything that puts ourselves in a situation that you can get hurt. You are not going to be able to protect yourself. Right? Best defense is don't be there. That's the best defense. If you know, if I walk on 5th Street, there's 10 shootings a day on 5th Street, but if I walk on 6th Street, there's never any shootings on 6th Street, then why the fuck are you walking on 5th Street? And if you don't know the crime rate of 5th Street or 6th Street, and it's in your local area, that's on you. You guys should know your local area. You should know where the bad parts are. You should know where you need to stay away from. There. Now we will talk about concealed carry and firearms and all that kind of stuff a little bit later. I'm all for it. Well, in the state that we live in, I just want to say this because the camera's running, in the state we live in, we don't even have to have a concealed carry permit. We live in a state where you don't even need it. Everyone can carry a gun if they want, and most of them do. Everyone can carry a knife if they want. Most of them do. I mean, this is the way that it is. That's the state we live in. Some states you have to have a concealed carry permit, some you don't. Some states you have to have all of this, some you don't. So of course you want to make sure that you know the situation, you know the area and all that kind of stuff. And we'll talk about concealed carry and the knives and the guns and the edged weapons and firearms a little bit later in today's class, okay? But I want